Surrounded by Idiots, Green Edition. Now, if you've been watching my video series on Surrounded by Idiots, you'll probably already know that this is a book that's talking about the 4 basic types of human behavior: the reds, the yellows, the greens, and the blues. And the greens themselves here are the ones, according to the book's back, if you read it quickly, are called laid back and friendly. However, is this the case? Well, of course it is the case. However, there's more to it than meets the eye. If you look at the diagram and the graph that goes ahead and looks and says all this, well, the greens are over here. They're introverted and they're passive. However, they're also relationship oriented as well. Now, the greens are great introverts. They don't really like talking that much. They like to keep to themselves because usually if they don't keep to themselves, they usually create conflict that's unnecessary and very messy, and that they'd rather not live with. They'd rather not live with. However, they're also relationship oriented too. One of the other reasons why they're kind of introverts are also because if they actually get into these conflicts, they risk compromising their relationships. However, unlike the yellows, they actually make less relationships than they usually go ahead and do. The greens are awesome and alright. However, they're usually introverts, so introverted that they are not that well. They're not that well at relationships as much as yellows are. But they are great people to work with. They're also great people to preserve relationships with as well, because all of them are awesome. All of them are great. However, they're not that well task-oriented and issue-oriented. Now, let me describe them in one word. If the reds are the CEOs, then the greens are the workers. They're the ones who can strike. However, they don't mind receiving orders too. The reds are the ones who'd rather send out the orders. The greens are the ones who'd rather receive the emails. And they're the ones who'd like to immediately get to work. Speaking of which, that doesn't mean that reds are bad too, and that doesn't mean that the greens are bad at relationship orientations as well. They're just built a little differently too. On the spot, when they react, they have calm reactions. They have maximum effort for connection, but they have minimal interest in change. They hate changing. They'd rather go ahead and do something that's the same. They love the routine, and if something disrupts it, they're gonna be terrible at it too. They are always in the current time frame, and they're terrible at it, and they're always a very supportive action. They have a tendency to reject conflict, and sometimes they make conflict without themselves knowing it too. Now, there are a bunch of these stable reactions, and there are a bunch of these stable green things too, but however, they themselves are not that immune to things. Now, greens on the bat in the book are already described as, well, change is so difficult and how to get around it. They're the ones who are terrible at changing, and they're also the ones who are able to get around it. They aren't the ones to get around it too. My favorite color is green, and somehow I'm not that very stable too. Usually I have calm reactions, but sometimes when someone's annoying me so much, I have these rapid reactions as well. I have maximum effort to connection. I also have a maximum effort to involve, even if it means annoying the other person, but I have minimal interest in changing things too, and I have a minimal interest in routine. I always have a future time frame, but sometimes I have a current time frame as well. I usually have an impulsive action, but I also have a tendency to reject conflict. But I also have a tendency to reject isolation, which is pretty good for me, in my opinion. With all this in mind, you can already see that greens are awesome, and somehow yellows are here too. Now, the greens are the most common people. You'll probably mostly virtually meet them everywhere. Everyone somehow always has a little bit of green in them. If they're not that stable, well, they're probably a little mentally unstable too. What's the easiest way to actually go ahead and explain him? Well, you'll probably say that he's like the average of all the other colors. The others are always either like slow, they're quick, or they're too rapid. The green is just calm. He's just like this, like the block game kind of person with the little pixel eyes, but you can't go ahead and do the reactions as well. Now you go ahead and they counterbalance these calmness with other traits that they have too. If you are a blue and a yellow, well, that's great if you are also a green. But however, Hippocrates calls these people phlegmatic people. The Aztecs call them earth people. They're calm, they're leisurely, and are easygoing. And in other words, it's pretty easy kind of to describe them. They're always in the current time frame. They're always just trying to support people, and they're always the ones who try to help others, even if it means compromising themselves. If they can help another person unlock their key, they do it, even if it means unlocking their key for them. With that, you can go ahead and you can count on a green anytime you want. If you tell a green that you want to do something, that you want him to do something, he'll definitely do it. They're patient, they're relaxed, they're self-controlled. They're very reliable, and they're composed, and they're very loyal. They can understand you, and they show all that understanding too, through nods and things. They're lengthy, they're very stable as well. They're very good supporters, and they are very good listeners. They're helpful, and they're really good producers too. They're thoughtful, and the best thing about them, also this is kind of annoying to Reds, they conceal their feelings a lot. They're very considerate, and of course, they're kind to top things off. With all this, you can go ahead and figure out that the Greens are awesome as well, in social standards too. Now, the Greens are the ones who are also great at doing things too. They're also the easiest people to choose if you want someone to sell something to Reds. Now, Greens here are great at listening to things. They're great at being patient too. However, the downside to all this is that if they only change if they feel like they need to change. If there's no need to change, if they don't have this kind of feeling to change, talking from experiencer, they usually won't do it. If they talk about something, but then they're like, yeah, I'm probably not going to do it, they're probably not going to do it. They're reliable. And if someone tells them, like, hey, change this and that and that and that for the rest of your life, then they're like, maybe. And then he's like, maybe, sure, maybe. And, well, he's probably not going to do it because he probably won't have the feeling to change. However, when they do have the feeling to change, they will definitely do it. They're reliable, all right, but they may be a little unreliable in some cases for themselves. They like helping others, but sometimes they're terrible at helping themselves too. They have to make themselves better too. If, like, let's just say your grandma is green, and then you ask your grandma to take care of your kids, and because you're going to be away, you tell her 2 weeks in advance. She has 2 weeks to prepare herself, and then suddenly the day before it, you go ahead and say, actually, we're going to stay home. And they're like, but you're going to be home. I don't want to come anymore. And they're like, why? You're going to be home. Everything's changed. We're just here. You can still play with the kids and do whatever you want. Yeah, but you're going to be here. It's not going to be the same. Hey, we'll be the ones who'll take care of you instead of you being the one taking care of us. Yeah, but it's not going to be the same. And with that, that's how Green would probably react. And that's kind of bad about Greens as well. That's the bad thing about Greens. They go ahead and do everything, but they just go ahead and hate change. If something suddenly changed and their plans, they're like, well, that's happening. And they're probably going to be annoying. For all that, you probably know things too. I know exactly what you mean. They're the kinds of people who probably say that. And there are a lot of Greens in your family, definitely. There's at least one Green in every family tree. There's like a lot of people, famous people like Gandhi, Michelle Obama, Jimmy Carter, and even Jesus. They are all Greens. How do you go ahead and adapt towards green behavior? Now, here are a few ways you can actually go ahead and adapt towards green behaviors themselves. Everything should feel good all the time. Everything should be able to be like a party towards them all the time. Everything should be awesome. To them, if awesomeness is having burgers every morning, every day there should be burgers every morning. If to them, awesomeness is like being able to win Mario Kart every time you play with your friends, well, you should probably let them win Mario Kart every time with their friends. That's how you can go ahead and adapt towards green behaviors as well. And you go ahead and say nothing happened twice. I'm sure you recall like the Greens' passivity. Nothing is too big to be ignored. Being proactive and driven, having an active lifestyle. All these things, well, can actually disturb their tranquility. Nothing has happened is better for them. Usually, you have to let them stay there and wait and let them do nothing. You'd rather let them do nothing as well. If they'd rather do nothing, let them do nothing too. However, when the situation calls it, make sure that they actually do something too. If they don't believe that they need to do this, well, they probably do nothing, which infuriates this one little group of people. Can you guess which kind? That's right, the Reds. The Reds are infuriated with this kind of behavior. They hate it with the fabric of their souls. And that kind of reminds me of this. you also have to be aware that these greens are great at doing things as well too. However, they also like doing nothing as well. They like laying on their bed doing nothing. That's what the greens are awesome for, because they like resting. Like, why does everything have to be a to do? Ugh, I'm just going to go ahead to beg. And you'd be like, and they also like to reminisce the past a lot too. It was better, way much better. Like when you're talking about change, they hate change too. After this change, they're probably like everything was much better before, because if they kept up that same routine, that same old routine in the same old situation for the rest of their lives, they'd be happy. And the greens that actually get that, they're probably the most happiest ever. But even greens need to change once in a while too. And how to give them feedback? How to give them feedback? Well, here's one way you can do it. But before you give feedback to green, my advice is, you have to kind of think twice about how you're going to do it before you actually do it. Now, this section of the video series is probably where you probably want to skip, because you may be wondering why. Simple. Criticizing a green can be cruel. They actually kind of feel bad whenever they get some criticization, when they probably feel like a knife stabbed them in the stomach, even though it's just like a little stick that just hit them and it hasn't even scarred them in real life. For the green, that just feels terrible for themselves. If you criticize them, it just feels bad towards them. You also kind of feel a little guilty probably too. However, here's how I kind of give feedback to green, which they will probably kind of, that's not a will, it's a kind of, and it's also a might, go ahead and admit towards itself. Now, the greens would probably go ahead and like concrete examples. You go ahead and give themselves a little gentle approach. Tell them things one by one, and every time you do it, give them an example. Give them concrete examples, and once you give them concrete examples, it will be the awesomest thing that you can probably do. However, you have to be gentle too. Just like riding a bicycle, you have to be gentle, or else, well, you know what's going to happen. You're going to fly off your bicycle with, well, a broken one at least, and then with that, you're probably just going to go ahead and land yourself in this boulder, and it's going to hit you in the head and make you bleed. However, don't do any of that too. Be gentle, but also don't backpedal too much too. Don't go backwards too much too. Don't go backwards. Go forwards, but go forward a little slow, at a gentle pace, just enough so that the green will get used to it. You also have to deal with the green's response of, "You're right, I'm so stupid," kind of thing, where like saying, like, they go ahead and criticize themselves too. If you criticize them and like this much, they'll probably criticize themselves 10 times more. And with that, you probably kind of feel guilty, and you probably kind of regret telling them any of these criticizations. You also have to be sure what the behavior is in this problem too, but not the person. And the rest you can figure out yourself by reading this book. Now, how do you stress out a green? And this part is also another part I'd probably like to skip, because you probably don't like greens when they're stressed out, but this is also kind of the important part of how to react to it. Now, how you stress out a green is that you have to go ahead and you have to take away every form of security from him. Give him tasks that he's never done before. Give him something that he's never done before, like writing, I don't know, a 5 million word essay kind of thing. Okay, that's a little too much. But also at the same time, expect perfection from him too. Tell him, make an iPad, but make sure that it's the best iPad in the world. Make sure that the person you're asking for is a green and has never done it before, and never made an iPad before. That's just gonna make him go wild and nuts and expect perfectionism from him. Then he's gonna try to do things. Leave him alone in meetings with people who he does not even know ever before, and expect that he does a great job with it. And also leave lots of loose ends. Give him a trail, but then make him complete the trail for you. Give him like four tasks, and you've done them like a quarter of the tasks of each. Make sure that he does 3/4 of each task. That's gonna, and without telling him any instructions, so he has to figure those out himself. That's gonna stress him out a lot. You have to go ahead and hang around him constantly. He likes being alone, alright, so go ahead and go around him. Keep going around him like, hey, what's up, man? He's just gonna like, hey, can you go away for a second? I'm starting to feel a little uncomfortable. Hey, I thought we were friends. Yeah, but I like being alone sometimes. You have to make lightning fast. Also, another way to stress him out, make lightning fast changes. Like suddenly he's working, and then suddenly you come and say, "Hey, so I've changed the heater. Now it makes green fire." What? Who would use that? Me? I wouldn't. Give me a little time. No, you're using it. No! And the green, don't give him time to adapt. Don't give him enough time for him to adapt to. Ask him, would you be so good as to redo the whole thing from beginning to end? Now, redoing a whole task, sure, he'll probably do it, but that probably means that he'll think of that as synonymous with failure too. And if you ask him to go ahead, all right, please do it again. I want to see what your second time will be like. He sees that as someone giving him an F minus. And how will they react? He becomes very reserved and cold. And if you're the problems, if you're the reason why he's stressed out, like, this guy's the reason why he's stressed out, he's going to try to push him away as much as possible. Delete him from existence. And with that, he's probably going to succeed. They also become a bit more hesitant and uncertain. And they're going to tremble a lot. And before they even make any kind of decision, they're probably like, is it true? Is this true? They're going to be like some sort of blues, except like hundreds, like millions of percent less than what a blue would do in these kind of situations. Greens would do a lot of things just to go ahead and do things, but Green's stubbornness gets the upper hand and prevents them from doing anything. And what can you do to actually help the Green? You go ahead and allow him to do nothing. Give him some free time to do whatever he wants, even if it is just lying in bed doing nothing. Let him watch TV if he wants, if it's unproductive. Let him do something unproductive for once. Let him give him a good book to read for that will take 2 days or something. Let him do anything, and then they want, even if it is nothing, give them free time, and then they'll be back to their normal selves. They'll be when they go back to work or when they go back, you'll probably be great. They'll probably be back at their normal selves again. They'll get good stuff, and they'll probably see their test scores as A pluses. And with that, that is how you deal with Greens, and that is Surrounded by Idiots, Green Edition. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I hope to see you guys soon in the next one. And so until then, ciao, peace. Bye-bye. Next time, we'll be talking about the blues. See you then. Ciao now. Peace.